Hi, my name is Amy Hawkins. I am coming to you from the Americans Unite for Michigan tribe team and doing this standalone video on a topic I'm very passionate about and I think that you need to know more about. It's the homeschooling call to action. In full disclosure, I was homeschooled uh, all the way through in the 80s and the 90s, and it was an amazing experience. I learned at an early age that homeschool freedoms are not guaranteed and that we must be involved in order so that we can build relationships with elected leaders. So if there ever was a crisis, that we have someone to advocate for us. But I was also taught at an early age how to get involved in the civic process and the beauty of it. Little did I know that it would be the thing that God would use one of the things to launch me into being involved in the political space, an arena I love. One of my concerns as we head into the November 2022 elections is that so many homeschool families in Michigan are not aware of what is at stake. So I'm going to do this short video just to give you a brief rundown. Tuesday, November 8th, 2022 is election day in Michigan. There are so many things on the ballot, everything from the governor to the secretary of state, attorney general, state house, state senate, important proposals, Supreme Court, the list goes on and on. You can find your sample ballot at michigan.gov/vote. But the reason this impacts homeschoolers, I've recently seen someone mention that homeschooling is a great thing to do in Michigan. Michigan's the best place to homeschool. But if elections go how progressives want, it will no longer be the state of freedom for homeschooling. How do I know this? Call it, I've been in politics long enough. And I see the trend on the national level for the progressives to come after religious freedom, freedom of conscience, anything that is good and right and true, right? And this is not a slam against them. It is a slam against their policies that are just harmful. And one of them is coming against homeschooling. If the progressives have their way, we will no longer have advocates that can protect us in the House and the Senate from blocking any bad legislation to get to a Democrat governor. It is my hope that the governor's seat next go around will be held by Tudor Dixon. It is highly possible that Gretchen Whitmer wins re-election. And she is all about power and she is all about accomplishing the agenda of the progressives. What we need help with is to make sure that every homeschool family you know is alerted to what is at stake in November. We need to make sure that we reelect a Senate majority, meaning that we get enough Republicans in the Senate and in the state house to be our safeguards against any bad policies that would try to move through. Ideally, it would be to have a freedom loving Republican governor and House majority and Senate majority. But what we also need to make sure is that homeschool families are turning out to vote, that they are working to make sure men and women who represent and will advocate for homeschool freedoms, that they get elected to the state house and the state senate. Because what has happened so far is that oftentimes, if a governor is anti-homeschool, but you have a Republican House or a Republican Senate majority, they can protect us from having any bad legislation make its way through. But if we lose the Senate, House, and Senate, if we lose the House majority and the Senate majority, then we will no longer have that roadblock. So make sure that your families are aware of what is at stake. Tell them to vote on November 8th. Make sure they are aware that if we don't reelect a Senate and House majority for Republicans, if we don't elect a Republican governor, that you can bet your bottom dollar that the liberals are coming after your homeschool freedoms. And you could say, oh, well, we'll just do a lawsuit and it'll go to the Supreme Court. It's a nice idea. But right now, the Michigan Supreme Court is also not championed by a rule of law majority. So as you will, we will all learn that with a progressive majority, they will side on the side of whatever liberal policy is put in front of them. So what we need help is just to spread the word and to make sure that men and women all over the state are aware of what's at stake. If you value your homeschool freedoms, you need to vote. You need to make sure that we're putting Republicans back into the House, into the Senate, and into the governorship, and take the chance and work hard to make sure we get 2 rule of law Supreme Court justices put on the bench as well. Your freedoms matter. You should have the right to homeschool or to send your kid to public school or private school. Parental rights matter. But if homeschool families do not wake up and get involved, their freedoms may be gone forever. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do for the next generation. With your help, we can preserve it for generations